Hi, this is Chris McCabe of e-commerce Chris. I'm a former Amazonian and seller consultant. I'm here with James Thompson of Buy Box Experts and The Prosper Show, right? You're the maestro, director, originator of The Prosper Show. Year 5? What year are we in this year?
Year five. Year 5.
Yeah, nice. You and I have spoken about this issue. We've had complaints from people saying we don't know what's going on with our brands, our listings. We're getting attacked. We're not sure what to do about it.
Yes.
And many of them have complained to Amazon abuse teams and maybe not gotten responses or not seeing enough action on the Amazon side of things. So there was an article a few weeks ago. I saw the Bloomberg article saying that there have been some people, maybe a few dozen people, who were let go from their jobs because they may have been unduly influenced by people outside the company.
Yes.
And maybe we're starting to crack this and figure out what's going on with some of the brand abuse. You've had brands that you work with get attacked. I've got clients in the same situation. So I just wanted to start by reading what you posted on LinkedIn when you shared the link. You wrote, while it is unfortunate that Amazon employees felt compelled to break the law and share customer seller information, this situation cannot be considered properly resolved until the outside parties who sought such data are called out publicly so that all honest customers and sellers can see the real culprits. I'm assuming you wouldn't write something like that unless you felt strongly about it, and I share that sentiment. My question is, do you think that's going to happen anytime soon, or do you think Amazon's main interest is just getting rid of a few bad apples and calling it a day?
So apart from Amazon suing publicly some firms a few years ago that were doing fake customer reviews, Amazon doesn't really have a history of going public with anything. And It's not so much that they're just sweeping everything under the rug, it's that they're just trying to take care of problems internally.
Right.
This sort of situation with buying and selling of information, the reality is somebody buys it and somebody sells it. And while you can go after the Amazon employees that were responsible for this, the moment you start to bring in the outside parties, I mean, realistically, there's a pretty good chance there's mail fraud, there's racketeering, there's all sorts of federal crimes involved. And so I certainly hope that Amazon has got the proper federal enforcement involved in these activities so that not only will the people on the outside that have created the demand for Amazon employees to do the wrong thing, those outside groups will be called to the mat and made public. I mean, we keep hearing, you live in a world, as do I, where there are a lot of bad players that are messing things up for all the honest sellers that are on the marketplace. And for the level of frustration that every seller has trying to figure out, A, how to not become the target of a black hatter, or B, how to compete when there's black hatters that show up with major advantages that have been unfairly created. I want to be able to see a situation where not only is the playing field leveled in terms of the bad guys, Amazon gets rid of them, but also we know who the bad guys were and who the bad guys are. Realistically, when I see situations where Amazon employees are taking money from outside organizations, it's not like there are going to be 100 Amazon sellers that are all independently talking to a particular employee. There's almost certainly a ringleader. I want to know who the ringleaders are because realistically, I mean, the ringleaders, we want to know who they are. We want to know who the sellers behind the ringleaders are. They're all guilty of trying to play in a way that hurts all the honest sellers. You and I have both spent our career post-Amazon trying to help the good guys at least get fair treatment. And when the bad guys are well-financed and expect that no one's actually ever going to call them out publicly, what's the harm in trying a few inappropriate activities? I don't want to see that kind of stuff continue.
I know that they might just think they'll get a slap on the wrist and never do this again, and they can go back to doing it some other time in the future. I mean, if you're not permanently banned from selling, or if you're a consultant who's not prosecuted for these things, you'll take a break and then come back later. I mean, that's what fraudsters have been notorious at. They take a little breather and then they come back in a new form, right?
Amazon has an incredibly difficult job policing 5 million sellers and all the other organizations that are participating as solution providers or what have you. The problem is, even with all the investment and all the time they put into the system, there's a responsibility to create at least a perception that the marketplace is fair. So the next seller who decides to join the platform actually has a reasonable opportunity of being able to put the right kinds of expertise and skills and discipline into setting up a successful business. When it's not set up that way, and people find backdoor ways to create huge advantages for themselves, gosh, that really messes up the willingness of any new person to say, you know what, I want to give it a shot on Amazon. So
right, it discourages people. Yeah,
you know, there are. I understand why Amazon may want to keep the names of the Amazon employees who participated, keep some of that confidential. You know, at some point, if those people are actually not only fired, but if they're charged with anything, then that becomes public domain. But let's find out who the people are who were writing the checks in the first place, who knew full well that this stuff was not allowed, but chose to do this anyways. And I suspect we may see some names of people that we know, or people that other people know. And so, it's good to know who the bad players are, so everyone can reevaluate where their loyalties lie.
Right, and the sad thing is, it makes Amazon employees or Amazonians that some of us know less willing to help honest sellers about an honest problem, because there might be the perception that they're helping in ways that, they're being compensated for how they're helping somebody resolve a problem. So it makes everyone tight-lipped. It makes everyone stay silent. And then it gets 10 times harder to solve real problems with honest sellers. It's a terrible consequence of this type of thing. And when Amazon gets rid of a few employees or a few bad apples, like you said, if the people behind it writing the checks aren't taken to task for it and punished for it, you're only solving half the problem by getting rid of the employees, right? I mean, they'll just find a new target and find somebody else who's receptive to those types of advances, right?
There's also the reality that for 20 years we've had third-party sellers on the marketplace, and the worst that could happen to them is they get suspended or they get their accounts terminated. But the reality is, the really bad players, they know how to get back on the site in some other way. And when you start crossing that barrier where the things you're doing, in fact, are illegal at a state level or a federal level, a lawsuit's all very nice and dandy, but I would like to see people being called out if they're being charged with such offenses. I'd like to see that information being made public, because if the incentives don't align, and basically as a seller, that the punishment really doesn't fit the crime, and you're willing to take the chance, everybody gets hurt in that situation.
Or if they think their only problem is going to be another seller might sue them for interfering with their business, they've got lawyers, they're making a lot of money, they don't worry about that so much. They'll deal with that in court, or it won't even get to court. If they're worried about Amazon suing them, or if they're worried about law enforcement or federal agencies coming after them, that's a little bit different.
Yes.
So, and this is one reason why I'm talking about this at the workshop, the preventing black hat tactics from impacting your business. And this is another reason why you and I are talking about this so often, because brands shouldn't have to deal with this nonsense when they're trying to launch a new product. Their resources and their energy should be devoted towards expanding their relationship with the marketplace, right? And with Amazon itself.
Yes.
And with clean teams, not dealing with teams, hey, can you help prevent some abuse that's happening to us and crippling our ability to make year-over-year revenue gains. And so hopefully we can get into that discussion in the workshop at Prosper, but just generally speaking, because like you said, if the public isn't talking about it, if buyers don't think more about this, if buyers think this is just between sellers and it doesn't have anything to do with them, will anything actually change if it doesn't change buying behavior? We don't know.
Join Chris McCabe, March 23rd, workshop, Prosper Show, Westgate Hotel, Las Vegas. Thanks for having me on, Chris.
Yeah, thanks a lot, James. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care.